In this video, we're going to focus on parallelograms. We're going to go over some properties associated with parallelograms and talk about how to solve some problems regarding it. So let's start with a picture. So let's say this is A, B, C, D. So the first thing you need to know is that opposite sides are parallel. So AB is parallel to DC. And we could also say that BC is parallel to AD. Now, what else do we know regarding parallelograms? Well, for one thing, opposite sides are congruent. So we could say that AB is congruent to DC. And also, BC is congruent to AD. Now, the next thing that we need to know is that opposite angles are congruent. So angle B and angle D are congruent to each other. And angle A and angle C are also congruent to each other. So let's say if angle B is 100 degrees, that means D is 100 degrees. Now, what's the value of A and C? Another rule we need to know is that consecutive angles are supplementary. So that means A and B have to add up to 180. B and C has to add up to 180. So A and C, they're equivalent to each other, and they both must be 80. 100 plus 80 is 180. And so consecutive angles are supplementary. Now, the next thing that you need to know is the diagonals. The diagonals bisect each other. So what does that mean? AC bisects BD, and also BD bisects AC. So let's say if AC is 20 units long, and let's call this E. That means AE will be 10 and EC will be 10. It's bisected into two congruent parts. So E is the midpoint of A and C. So let's say if BD was 12, that means BE is 6, ED is 6. And so it's important to understand that these two are congruent to each other. And so AE is 1/2 of AC, and AE is congruent to EC. So we can write that AE is congruent to EC. And AE is basically 1/2 of AC. So those are some other things that you want to keep in mind when dealing with parallelograms. Now let's work on an example problem. So let's say if we have parallelogram ABCD. Now let's say that angle C is 9x minus 2, and angle D is 10x plus 30. With this information, calculate the measure of angle C. Feel free to pause the video if you want to try it. Now, if you recall, consecutive angles are supplementary. So this means that angle C plus angle D must add to 180 degrees. So angle C is 9x minus 2. Angle D is 10x plus 30. So this has to add up to 180. Now let's combine like terms. 9x plus 10x is 19x. Negative 2 plus 30, that's 28. So now we need to subtract both sides by 28. So 180 minus 28 That's 152. Now let's divide both sides by 19. So 152 divided by 19 is 8. So now that we have the value of x, we can calculate the measure of angle C. So angle C is 9x minus 2. So let's plug in the x value that we have. So let's replace x with 8, and this will give us the answer. 9 times 8 is 72, and 72 minus 2 is 70. And so that's the measure of angle C. It's 70 degrees. And so that's it for this problem. Here's another example. So here we have a parallelogram. And let's say once again this is A, B, C, and D. Let's say that angle B is x squared plus 20, and angle D is 7x plus 50. Your task is to calculate the measure of angle A. Go ahead and do this. So, one rule that you need to remember for parallelograms is that opposite angles are congruent. So this means that angle B is equal to angle D. So B is x squared plus 20, and D is 7x plus 50. So let's go ahead and calculate the value of x. So how should we do this? The best thing is to take everything on the right side and move it to the left side. So it's going to be x squared minus 7x plus 20 minus 50. Now 20 minus 50 is negative 30. So this is what we now have. So what two numbers, we need to factor this quadratic equation by the way. What two numbers multiply to negative 30 but add to the middle coefficient negative 7? We need to find two numbers that multiply to negative 30 and add to negative 7. This will help us to factor this trinomial. So we have 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. Notice that 3 and 10 differs by 7. And to make it negative 30, one of them has to be negative. So it makes sense if we make it positive 3 and negative 10. 3 times negative 10 is negative 30, but 3 plus negative 10 adds up to negative 7. So to factor it, it's going to be x plus 3 times x minus 10. Now what we need to do is set both factors equal to 0. And so we can see that x will equal negative 3, if we subtract both sides by 3. And if we add 10 to both sides, x will equal positive 10. So it looks like we may have two possible answers. If we plug in negative 3, both angle B and angle D will be the same and they will both have a positive measure. So for example, the measure of angle B is going to be x squared plus 20. And so that's negative 3 squared plus 20, which is 9 plus 20, so that's 29 degrees. And angle D will have the same value. It's going to be 7 times negative 3 plus 50. 7 times negative 3 is negative 21 plus 50, that's 29 degrees. So one possible answer for angle B is 29. Let's see what the other possible answer is going to be. So let's say if x is 10. So angle B is going to be 10 squared plus 20. 10 squared is 100. 100 plus 20, that's 120 degrees. And if we check it by calculating angle D, it's going to be 7 times 10 plus 50. So that's 70 plus 50, which is also 120. So angle B can be 29 or 120 degrees. So now we can find the possible answers for angle A. Keep in mind that A and B are supplementary. So the measure of A plus the measure of B has to add up to 180. So let's calculate A if B is 29. So that's going to be 180 minus 29. So one possible answer for angle A is 151 degrees. Now the other possible answer is 180 minus 120, so it could be 60. So there's two possible answers for this angle. It could be 60 degrees or 151. Now let's work out another example. So this is going to be A, B, C, and D as usual. And this time we're going to have some diagonals. And let's call this point E. So AE in this problem is going to be 4x. And EC, we're going to say it's 2x squared minus x minus 3. So knowing this, what is the measure, what is the length of AC? Go ahead and work on this problem. Now, if you recall, the diagonals bisect each other. So what that means is that AE is equal in length to EC. These two sides are equivalent to each other. So therefore, we could set AE, which is 4x, equal to EC, which is 2x squared minus x minus 3. So we have another quadratic equation. So let's begin by subtracting both sides by 4x. So this is going to be 0 is equal to 2x squared. Negative 1x minus 4x is negative 5x. And so we have this expression. So how can we factor 2x squared minus 5x minus 3? So notice that we have a trinomial where the leading coefficient is not 1. So what do we need to do in this case? The first thing you need to do is you need to multiply the leading coefficient by the constant term. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Next, you need to find two numbers that multiply to negative 6 but add to the middle coefficient, negative 5. This is going to be negative 6 and positive 1. Negative 6 plus 1 adds up to negative 5. Next, replace the middle term with these two. So we're going to replace negative 5x with negative 6x plus 1x because they add up to negative 5x. After that, factor by grouping. So in the first two terms, take out the GCF, the greatest common factor. In this case, it's going to be 2x. 2x squared divided by 2x is x. Negative 6x divided by 2x is negative 3. Now, in the last two terms, factor out the GCF. If there is no GCF, factor out 1, which means what's going to be on the inside is the same, x minus 3. If these two are the same, that means you're on the right track. So we're going to factor out x minus 3, and then what goes inside the second parentheses is what we see out here, 2x plus 1. And so that's how you can factor this particular trinomial. Now, just like before, let's set each factor equal to 0. So for this one, let's add 3 to both sides. So we can see that one possible answer is that x is equal to 3. Now here, let's subtract both sides by negative 1. So 2x is equal to negative 1. And then we'll have to divide both sides by 2. So the other possible answer is that x is negative 1/2. Now, which x value should we use? Can we use both of them like the last problem, or just one of them? Now, notice that if we plug in negative 1/2 into 4x, it gives us a negative value. And you can't have a negative length, so therefore, this answer doesn't make sense. Now, if the negative x value gave us a positive 4x value, or let's say if that was 4x squared, then it would work. But you can't have a negative side length. It is not practical. Like, what would that mean? So x has to equal 3 in this example. Now, AE is 4x. So it's 4 times 3, that's 12. EC is 2x squared minus x minus 3, or 2 times 3 squared minus 3 minus 3. 3 squared is 9, and negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. 2 times 9 is 18. 18 minus 6 is 12. So we can see that these two are indeed the same. Now, AC is the sum of AE and EC. So AE is 12, EC is 12, therefore AC is 24. And this is the answer that we're looking for in this problem. Here's another math problem for you. So we're going to use the same letters, A, B, C, D. And once again, we're going to have diagonals in this picture. And this is E once again. So let's say that BE is 4x minus 6, and BD, we're going to say it's 7x minus 8. So with this information, calculate the length of ED. Go ahead and work on it. So what's the relationship between BE and BD? Notice that BE is 1/2 of BD. So let's say if BE was 7, that means ED would be 7, but BD would be 14. 7 is 1/2 of 14, for example. So BE is 4x minus 6, BD is 7x minus 8. What I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, because if I distribute the 1/2, I'm going to have 7 over 2, and I don't want any fractions. So let's multiply this side by 2 and the left side by 2. So 1/2 times 2 is 1. Now on the left side, I need to distribute the 2 to 4x minus 6. So 2 times 4x is 8x, and 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. On the right side, because I canceled the fraction, I no longer need a parenthesis, so I can simply write 7x minus 8. Now let's subtract both sides by 7x, and let's add 12 to both sides. So these two will cancel. 8x minus 7x is 1x, which is simply x. And negative 8 plus 12 is 4. So now we have the value of x. X is equal to 4. So now we can calculate BE. So that's 4x minus 6, or 4 times 4 minus 6. 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 minus 6 is 10. So BE is 10, which means ED is also 10. And so that's the answer. ED is 10 units long. Now let's consider another problem. So this one is going to be a little bit different than the other ones. So let's say that AB is equal to 3x plus 4, and let's say BC is equal to 5y plus 3, and CD is equal to 7x minus 12, and also AD is 2y plus 12. So with this information, calculate the perimeter of the parallelogram. Go ahead and try it. So keep in mind, opposite sides are congruent. Now AB is 3x plus 4, and BC is 5y plus 3. Okay, that doesn't look like a y, so let's fix that. And CD is 7x minus 12. AD is 2y plus 12. So since opposite sides are congruent, we know that AB is congruent or equals CD. So AB is 3x plus 4. We could set that equal to 7x minus 12. So let's subtract both sides by 3x, and let's add 12 to both sides. 4 plus 12 is 16, and 7x minus 3x is 4x. So if we divide both sides by 4, 16 divided by 4 is 4. So x is equal to 4. Now, if x is equal to 4, we can calculate the measure of side AB. So AB is 3x plus 4, so that's going to be 3 times 4 plus 4. And so this is 12 plus 4, which is 16. So CD and AB, they're both equal to 16, since they're congruent to each other. Now we could also set BC equal to AD because they have the same length. Now BC is 5y plus 3. AD is 2y plus 12. So let's subtract both sides by 2y and by 3. 5y minus 2y is 3y. 12 minus 3 is 9. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. So now we can find the measure of BC. So it's 5y plus 3, so that's 5 times 3 plus 3. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 plus 3 is 18. So BC and AD, they both equal 18. So now we can calculate the perimeter. The perimeter is going to be 2 times 16, because we have 2 of them, plus 2 times 18. So 2 times 16 is 32. 2 times 18 is 36. 32 plus 36 is 68. So that's the perimeter of this particular quadrilateral.